Does Lamar Jackson still have a lot to prove? I'm not even going to answer that. Flock Nation Speaks episode, what is this, 11? Are we on 11? I feel like I've taken a couple weeks off, and it's kind of weird. Like, I don't even know, like, it's kind of weird. I feel like I've taken a couple weeks off. I feel like I'm back. Uh, I'm feeling pretty good. DJ here, Bill Productions, Flock Nation Speaks episode 11. I'm blanking on a name for Ravens player with number 11. Ah, I mean, I'm thinking of like Dante Culpepper as famous number 11 players. I'm trying to think of guys who wear number 11 right now. Like 11 is just such a weird number. Like who wears 11? Who's ever done that? Like who wears the number 11? I can't. I'm missing. Wait, James Prochet. Oh, that's right. James Prochet did wear an umbrella. Whoa, that's crazy. I forgot James Prochet wore 11. Probably because he didn't see the field nearly enough. But anyway, Fly Nation Speaks back at it again. Uh, Another episode. I'm excited. Been moving. It's been crazy. That's why my wall looks very very much so plain as the normal setup. But hopefully we'll be back and back at it a couple weeks or so. Give me a good month. Give me a good month to be back where I need to be in terms of background quality. But right now, we just got to deal with the regular schmegula. But it's funny. I said in the intro, I was like, I ain't even gonna talk about it, but then that's the topic of the video, so I kind of got to talk about it. So here we are. I keep seeing all this craziness about should Lamar Jackson be paid? Does he still have a lot to prove? And it makes me think a lot. It makes me think a lot about what he's done and kind of the shot in the arm that he's given the Ravens since he has became quarterback number one. But it also makes me it draws a lot of comparisons to the guy before him and Joe Flacco, who also he saw a lot of criticism. So sometimes I'm wondering, I'm like, I feel like we should be used to this in a way, right? We should be used to Ravens quarterbacks being criticized because Ravens quarterbacks don't do things in the ways that traditional quarterbacks are supposed to be. Lamar Jackson is probably the greatest rushing quarterback, I think, arguably, and it may not even be an argument at this point, the greatest rushing quarterback there's ever been. And then you had a guy like Joe who was just kind of the beacon of consistency in terms of suiting up each and every week. Was he always consistent week to week? Not necessarily, right? Was he the best regular season quarterback in the world? No, but when it mattered, he showed up. So it just makes me wonder. It makes me wonder, like, why? Like, and I feel like Ravens fans are very much so passionate about their quarterbacks. Like that, like the defense always gets all the credit. The running game always gets all the credit, right? Because the Ravens have always been run game and defense. That's been the bread and butter. That's been what the Ravens do since their inception in 1996. It's been run game. It's been defense. And I think some fans feel like it's kind of an old man's mentality, right? It's an old heads mentality. Run game and defense. You're not evolving with the Chiefs of the world, with Patrick Mahomes, who have been to 3 straight Super Bowls, 4 straight AFC championships. Like, you're not evolving with those guys. So it makes us wonder. And then when people come after our quarterbacks, I think we feel like, wait a minute, it's not Joe's fault that Ray Rice was a top back in the league and this team was built to be run first. It's not Lamar's fault that Greg Roman's system is a run first system. And let's not forget, even last season, Lamar Jackson had a whole lot of touchdowns taken away by a guy who's going to fight in the exhibition championship match coming up soon in a boxing ring in Le'Veon Bell, right? Like, I don't know if it's a championship match, but he going to fight in an exhibition fight coming up soon. A guy who ain't even on an NFL team right now, a guy who everybody feels like is washed. Like, Lamar Jackson got a lot of his passing touchdowns taken away by the likes of Devontae Freeman last season, Latavius Murray last season, Le'Veon Bell last season. So the numbers didn't look as good, and he still ended up making the Pro Bowl. And I think he deserved it because, let's be honest, he was the MVP of the Ravens. When Lamar Jackson went down, so did the Ravens. So does Lamar Jackson still have a lot to prove? Let's talk about his career, not just last year. And last year's kind of an anomaly because he didn't play the whole season. Right? Does he still have a lot to prove? First things first, everybody wants to talk about the injury concerns. Lamar Jackson has, 3 injuries in his career, I want to think. He's got the one against Buffalo, which was the concussion on a passing play. He was trying to extend the play a little bit. He got the concussion, was out of the game, and we know how that ended up being. And then he had, of course, the ankle injury, the bone bruise against the Browns. That was a big one. Right, that took him out for the rest of the season. Maybe could have came back for the playoffs, maybe, but I think it was a shot in the dark if he would have. I think that's the only 2 that I'm thinking of right off the top of my head. Those are the 2 injuries that he had, and I think even when he was banged up in practice over the last couple of years, it's been off of passing plays, not running plays. Popular to what the common belief or the common media would say. So injury wise, I don't think there's anything necessarily to be proven, right? Like, it's hard to say because going back to Joe, right? Joe did everything that he was supposed to do with the things he was given, right? He had a top receiver in Mike Wallace. He had a top receiver in an aging Steve Smith. I think the best receiver he had, I would say 2 of them go in tandem, right? I think the best receivers he had, Torrey Smith, who I don't think was a guy he was a scary deep threat, but I don't know if Torrey Smith was that guy. Like, I don't know if Torrey Smith was that guy who would necessarily instill fear into defenses as a number 1 guy. I think he fit the number 1 role because that's what they had to have. But I'm not saying, I don't think Torrey Smith was necessarily a number 1 guy, like the typical guy that you're used to seeing as a number 1 guy. And then you go over to Mike Wallace, right? Mike Wallace was another guy who was a number 1 guy at one point, but by the time the Ravens got him, he wasn't a number 1 guy. Bolden is the other guy, right? It's Torrey Smith and Anquan Bolden. I think Anquan Bolden is probably ahead of Torrey Smith in that regard because Anquan Bolden was almost like a true number 1. He was a little bit older at that time, but he still had so much to give that it was worth every single penny that they put out there. And that was a great, was that a midseason trade, I think, that Ozzie Newsome made to bring in Anquan Bolden and really shift into that Super Bowl run that they ended up having after the Lee Evans drop and the Billy Cundiff with Justin Tucker comes in kicking pretty much perfectly, and then you bring in a guy like Anquan Bolden, you pair him with Torrey Smith, and there we go. I mean, has he done enough? I think given going back to Lamar Jackson, has he done enough given the fact that he hasn't had the typical weapons that everybody else has had? He hasn't had the DK Metcalfs of the world. He hasn't had the Stephon Diggs of the world, right? He hasn't had even the Cole Beasleys of the world, right? I mean, how good Hollywood Brown is still up for debate, I think. Like, Hollywood Brown made some great catches, and I think he's going to do well in Arizona, but Hollywood Brown at the same time, he wasn't like the true number 1 guy. Like, a lot of people think that Tyreek Hill isn't like the true, wasn't the true like number 1 guy for Kansas City. He was in terms of numbers, in terms of production, in terms of what he did. But I've heard some people say that Tyreek Hill wasn't the number 1 guy because he didn't fit the typical number 1 build. And I guess Antonio Brown didn't either. But I mean, you can't deny that Antonio Brown's the number 1 guy. So has Lamar Jackson done enough to get paid? Let's talk about getting paid. This is a tough question, right? And it's weird that we've seen Lamar Jackson take the Ravens from on the brink of not even making the playoffs to making the playoffs every time that he's been healthy enough to start the majority of the games throughout the season, right? 3 of his 4 seasons, he's went to the playoffs. He's got the playoff win under his belt too. So to me, it feels like, I feel like he's done enough. He's made it to the playoffs. He's done, he's done the things that he's needed to do. Dude's 37-14 overall, including the playoffs, in those, because that's where most of those losses come in. Like, he's done everything that a guy needs to do to get paid when it comes to the production aspect of it. I mean, even just looking at some of the more like unique stats that Lamar Jackson has. Like, of course, he got the MVP in 2019. Everybody knows that. You know, he got first team All Pro until 2019 too. He's had 2 Pro Bowls. I mean, he's just got some really like unique NFL records. Of course, most single season rushing yards. I think he's got most back to back 1,000-yard rushing seasons or something like that. If I'm not mistaken. Most 1,000-yard rushing seasons by a quarterback with 2, and he was going to break that. You know, he was going to continue to add to that last year, but you know, with the injuries and everything, that's what happened. You know, most tied with Ben Roethlisberger with most perfect passer rating games in a season. Like I mean, you know, just looking at that, if you just close your eyes and don't think about who it is, you'd be like, they're deserving of getting paid, right? Here's the deal. If Kyler Murray is deserving of getting paid, then Lamar Jackson is deserving of getting paid. Let's be honest. That's my thing. If Kyler Murray is deserving of getting paid, then so is Lamar Jackson. You can't tell me Kyler Murray has done more than Lamar Jackson has. Shoot, Kyler Murray has AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins. You can say whatever you want to about AJ Green. AJ Green was the number 1 receiver at some point in time, right? He you know, a couple years ago, and like as a number 2, number 3 guy, like once again, you put people in the proper positions to be successful, and having AJ Green as number 2 and number 3 is huge. So I think that's the other thing, man. Like I mean, what has Kyler done to get paid that Lamar Jackson hasn't? Right? Kyler don't have an MVP. Kyler don't even have a playoff win, and that's the big thing that we're so worried about. So what about that? But then it goes back to as well. I feel like as Ravens fans, maybe we should be used to this because it's been like Joe Flacco is the only Ravens quarterback that has ever been paid. And Joe Flacco had to win a Super Bowl and had to be on the brink of winning 2 straight, which I think we forget. We forget Lee Evans dropped that ball. We forget Billy Cundiff whipped on that kick. Like we really do forget that. Like I know there was a lot of, there was a lot of hoopla and there was a lot of, kind of luck, as you would say, Raheem Moore, I think, not playing the ball perfectly for Denver. But at the same time, when does Billy Cundiff miss that 30-yard field goal to win the game? To tie the game? When does Lee Evans drop the game-winning touchdown? Right? When did against the New England Patriots to take you to the Super Bowl where you're going to face the Giants, where you know for a darn fact, everybody knows for a darn fact, the Ravens could have beat the Giants in that Super Bowl and had their second Super Bowl against the Giants and go ahead and took home another one. And then, so that's the thing though. Like it goes back to that. Joe literally had to win a Super Bowl to get paid, right? He had the playoff wins. He had to taking the team to the playoffs. He had to being the consistent quarterback to suit up every single week. I mean, Joe didn't get hurt until he tore his ACL, 5-6 years into his career. So Joe suited up every single time. He was going for that Iron Man award until the offensive lineman, his own offensive lineman, rolled up on him. Then that's when everything kind of went downhill. So my thing is, Joe had to literally win a Super Bowl to get paid. Is Lamar Jackson going to have to win a Super Bowl to get paid? It could be a good year for him to do it, right? It would be big. I think Ravens fans, I think the Flock Nation, I think the Ravens flock, I think would be happy with that, right? If that's what it took to get him paid, cool. But I think Lamar Jackson has done enough, right? I think Lamar Jackson has done enough. I mean, I think a lot of people would say if Patrick Mahomes, here's the thing. I think a lot of people would say if Patrick Mahomes, he took off his cleats and he was like, I'm done, right? I can't do it no more for whatever reason, right? Decided to walk away from football today. I think a lot of people would say Patrick Mahomes is a Hall of Famer. And he ain't been in the league, He's been in the league, 6 years now, I think this is his 6th year coming up because this is Lamar's 5th. So if you can say that, I think there's an argument to say that Lamar Jackson is in the same company because Lamar Jackson has the same unique stats that Mahomes has. He just doesn't have the Super Bowl. That's the only thing Lamar's missing, right? Lamar's got the MVP, right? Lamar has had winning seasons. He's done everything that he's needed to do, but and he has these, like you said, these unique stats. The best rushing quarterback, there ever was. Most perfect passer ratings in a season. There was another stat I can't remember it's like it's one of those weird, unique ESPN stats, but it was something to do with most passing yards with no interceptions. It was the Colts game, most passing yards with no interceptions, something like that. It had something to do with that. So that, I mean, he's got the unique stats to definitely be paid. The Hall of Fame thing, I've said it before, and I mean, I 95.67910% believe it, but at the same time, I also feel like I think he definitely deserves to get paid. If Deshaun Watson got paid with all the craziness going on with him, then somebody said, put Deshaun Watson's contract on the table and say, I'll take this and give me about 10 million more, right? Because I'm gonna be on the field. We don't know about him, but I'm gonna be on the field, and you know that, right? And when I'm off the field, let's just see what happened. There's no offense to my boy Snoop, right? There's no offense to my boy Snoop, but at the end of the day, right, I'm gonna be on the field, and what happens when I'm on the field. It gives you the best chance to win, right? It gives you the best chance to win. If the defense could close out some of the some of the games too that they haven't closed out either, this defense that we pour all the money into, that we put all the trade assets into, right, that we are completely fine with trading picks for, but we won't trade picks for a wide receiver. If the defense would finish some of these games, some of these losses, even against the Chiefs, would have been null and void. It wouldn't have never happened. Some of these playoff losses wouldn't have never happened. We forget the Chargers game was a one possession game until the very, very end, right? The Bills game was a one possession game until the very, very end, and I won't discredit the defense on that one. They defense did all they could on that one. That was more of a Lamar got hurt in that regard, but still. You're not gonna tell me. I just feel like Lamar definitely deserves to get paid. And I'm gonna be real hurt if Baltimore doesn't do it before anybody else does. Because at the end of the day, this is like the Ravens have never been Super Bowl contenders ever. Like in the history of the Ravens since 1996. The Ravens have never been Super Bowl contenders. Nobody ever was like, oh man, you know what? I'll tell you, I look at those Ravens and I tell you there's some, and I'll tell you one thing that's been common throughout that whole thread, right? They've always been good on defense and they've always had a good running game, right? But nobody's ever been like, oh, they got that dynamic quarterback until Lamar Jackson stepped onto the scene. And I think that's another thing that is cause for, hey, we should pay him. If Kyler Murray deserves to get paid, then I think Lamar Jackson deserves to get paid, right? He may not be quite at Mahomes' money, but Mahomes' money is ridiculous for Mahomes, right? Mahomes' money is ridiculous for Mahomes. Like Mahomes probably got overpaid for Mahomes' contract. So now the Deshaun Watson type contract, and maybe, and it makes me think maybe Lamar is betting on himself, right? Joe did the same thing. Maybe he's betting on himself. He's like, you know what? I'm putting all my chips in the table. We get this done. I mean, he looks like he's focused. He always tends to, right? We get this done with the guys that we have. I mean, once again, like the Ravens have the most unproven wide receiving core in the league. The most unproven wide receiving core for a top team. They have the most unproven wide receiving core, right? If Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl with this team, I mean, the entire Ravens flock probably gonna pour their bank accounts out at Lamar Jackson too, right? Because we're gonna be like, this man gotta get paid. He has to. We gotta keep him, right? I mean, 37-14 is ridiculous, and you know that's the thing. Like there's not many guys who can say that. Dan Marino and Lamar Jackson, and that's another one of those unique stats that Lamar Jackson has and nobody else has, right? Most wins under the age of 25 or whatever it is, right? I'm sure Mahomes would have got it, but Mahomes didn't start his first year, right? Am I supposed to be mad at Lamar Jackson because he actually got to start his first year like that? That's what we're doing? No, not at all. But I just feel like you gotta pay this man. Like he's proven it. I'm all for the proven commodity over the chance in the dark, right? You can take a chance in the dark and you can draft somebody else and you can hope that they're going to be just as dynamic as Lamar Jackson. But when you got dynamic in the palm of your hands, right? You got dynamic right here, right? You got MVP right here, right? You got led the league in passing right here, right? You got top rushing quarterback of all time right here. You got the most dynamic dual threat quarterback right here. You got, wait a minute, looking for number one wide receiver. You don't have that, but he's still successful, right? But he's still successful. So you have that right there. If you let that go through your hands, I question your business savvy. I question your football savvy. I question your football IQ in that regard. Pay Lamar Jackson. I'd pay him before the season. He deserves it. Mark Andrews got it, right? He deserves it. Why is it that we'll pay everybody else, but when it comes to the quarterback, which a lot of people would say is the most, want to say one of the most important positions in the NFL, right? To have that consistent guy is going to suit up night in and night out. Not only that, going to win you football games. Not only that, going to give you the best chance to win every single time, right? I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why you wouldn't pay that man. So to answer the question, long story short, does Lamar Jackson still have a lot to prove to get paid? No, not at all. Lamar Jackson doesn't have a lot to prove. He's proven it already, right? He's beaten every top team you can throw at him. I've heard a lot of people say, oh well, but Lamar Jackson hasn't beaten good teams. The Rams wasn't a good team. The Patriots weren't a good team. The Niners weren't a good team. I know that it was a little off that season, but they went back the next season with barely any changes and came right back, right? The Niners came right back that season. The Seahawks weren't a good team. Russell Wilson was a Super Bowl contender. A MVP candidate, but the Seahawks weren't a good team. So that's the thing, right? He's giving you everything you need. It's right there. It's right there. The proof is in the pudding, right? The proof is in the pudding. Stop shopping, right? And pick up the pudding. That's all I want you to do. I want you to pick up the pudding. I need you to go ahead and pay Lamar Jackson, right? Put the Ravens fans at ease, right? But I understand. It's a conversation. But as always, I'm gonna head on out. But be sure to leave your thought processes in the comments. Does Lamar Jackson still have a lot to prove? Does he not? What do y'all think? What do y'all think? I mean, Lamar Jackson has done so much so far. Like, you give him a couple years, he gonna be in that Ravens Mount Rushmore that I talked about a couple weeks ago. Like, that's how crucial Lamar Jackson has been to the Ravens organization. And he wants to stay a Raven for life, and I think you give him that. This defense and running game stuff, we done with that, right? Let's evolve with everybody else. But as always, you know that you can always watch Flock Nation Speaks and listen to Flock Nation Speaks. Watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Anchor, or wherever your podcasts are. Wherever you listen to podcasts, I'm probably there. But of course, I will be back very, very soon with some more stuff. And I guess I will see you guys. I will be back. Just bear with me on the move. Bear with me on the boringness of the background. Just bear with me, okay? I will be back. I will be back next week. I think Tuesday is going to be my actual time to put out a podcast episode. I think I'm liking Tuesday because then in the off season, right? You know, you can throw in some new topics. But when the season starts, you know, if you gotta, I could do a recap on Sunday or Monday, but then at the same time I could do the preview on Tuesday. Bing, bang, boom. So you keep the Tuesday up. So, but as always, hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys on the next one. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a like or two. You know, if you got 2-3 accounts, go ahead and just sign in on all of them. But as always, until next time.